I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we don't have a trigger warning like we've had the past couple of weeks, but maybe we should.
I will say we have a spoiler warning, though.
Oh, that's true. It's always spoiler warnings.
Yeah, a lot of my things I'm going to talk about with small dick energy, I have to tell you why in the book. So
well, that's true.
This is a spoiler heavy.
Not a trigger, unless, you're triggered by small dick energy.
I think all women are a little triggered.
Yeah,
that's probably most
what
guys
we're going to talk about. Yeah, we're going to talk about some books. I was going to say our favorite, but I guess that's not really the right way to put it. We're going to talk about books, characters, or maybe even moments that have small dick energy. But first, Deb, will you please share a little snippet, a little teaser of our nerdiest cocktail this week?
But first, that was hilarious. I'm going to tell you about our cocktail. It's called the Goddess of Chaos, and it tastes like chocolate milk. This might be one of the best cocktails. I was going to say this is the best cocktail so far of the season, but this is only episode 5. But it is the best cocktail of the season so far. It's really, really good. And again, if you listen to our read-along episode on Thursday, you will find out why we named it this. And then also the recipe is on ournerdiestthing.com.
It is really good. And I think maybe my outburst of but first is because I've had some of the...
You had four...
I've had four sips.
I was going to say,
look, it's not even halfway done.
When he's like, I've had three sips. I'm good, guys.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
You know what, though? You spend a lot less on alcohol than me and Mindy do. So
it doesn't take much. Yeah. Well, let's go into our nerd alert and nerdy news. I'm sure everyone will be shocked to hear that I don't have any.
That's all right. We've got your back.
We got you.
Mindy, do you have some nerdy news this week?
I have one piece of nerdy news. On September 19th, Julia Olivia has a new book coming out, and it's not part of her roller coaster series or her Peter Pan reimagining. It's a new one, a brand new standalone. It's called If It Makes You Happy, and it's got a lot of...
Can't be that bad.
And it's a single dad, small town romance. It's got 90s fall vibes.
Ooh.
Do you think it has to do with Sheryl Crow?
I don't know. I mean, I think she has she has a playlist. And so she was on her Facebook page. She was like, what's your favorite 90s songs? So she was doing a whole playlist.
I think Sheryl Crow would be really hard to sing like. She has a very distinct voice.
Oh, yeah.
And really can carry her voice too.
Yeah.
I don't think she gets enough credit.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she needs to... People need
justice for Sheryl Crow.
Yes.
That's right. Where are you, chick? She's sitting on my wad of cash. Leave me alone.
I'm good. I've retired.
Well, I know this is going to be just as shocking that I have several. So the first one I want to talk about is actually a book that we were sent from Wednesday Books. So thank you so much for a copy of this. It's called One House Left by Vincent Ralph. It just came out on August 27th, and it's about a boy who grew up next to a street named Murder Road, where the hiding boy comes for you. So it's like an urban legend type of thing. It's got a really, really good twist ending. I would highly recommend it. And
the hiding boy?
That's book is called One House Left.
Okay.
Because there's one house left for the hiding boy to get on Murder Road.
Oh.
I'm getting ready to enter my thriller era.
Yeah. I think because
I'm really, really wanting to read all these thrillers.
Well, you can borrow the book from me. I'm done with it. So you can borrow it for sure. But it was... The twist was a really good twist that I didn't really see coming. So I was pretty excited by that. Yeah. So the next one I want to talk about is called Immortal Dark. And I really hope I'm pronouncing this right, but Tygest Gurm. It actually comes out on September 3rd. It's a dark academia fantasy with vampires and an angry, depressed heroine bent on revenge.
Ooh.
Count me up. And I think it's a lot like Lauren Blackwood, where it's black vampires, and her whole thing is you never see that.
That's
so
cool.
I'm really interested in that. I'm really, really excited about this book. The third one I want to speak about is called Dawn of Gods and Fury by K.A. Tucker. This also came out on September 3rd. It's book 4 in the Fate and Flame series that, without giving away any spoilers, since it is book 4, it's all about the prophecies, monsters, and the sirens that are in the books. But I don't want to say any more than that. And then the final one is friend of the podcast, Abigail Owen. She has a new book that just came out called The Games Gods Play. And it's about a cursed woman who is picked by Sadies to serve in a deadly contest to determine a new ruler to sit on the throne of Olympus.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. So they pick like a human person to like be their contestant or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that sounds really, really
Yeah,
fun.
that does. Shout out to Abigail Owen.
Yeah,
She
and
was
she
awesome.
has a really cool first edition out with sprayed edges and stuff too.
Oh, that's
if you guys
cool.
want to go to her website.
Very cool.
Nice. And check her out. Well, thank you guys so much for the nerdy news. Let's talk about the nerdy and dirty, what we're reading.
Okay, I'm reading a really good book right now.
Tell
I'm really
me
excited.
everything.
I've had it on my TBR forever. It's called A Court This Cruel and Lovely by Stacia Stark. And I think I just haven't read it because like it's got that whole a court of this and this like a lot. And so I'm like, okay, that's been done. But it actually has been really, really good. You need to think Outlander meets From Blood and Ash with one horse, political scheming, and like hidden magic. I
Yeah.
think it's going to end up being a 5-star read for me.
Oh, awesome.
And it's
awesome.
a series. So I've got like a bunch of arcs. And so if this
Yeah.
ends on a cliffhanger, I'm going to really be struggling. I need to read some arcs before I go back to the series. But I
Yeah.
think it's on Kindle Unlimited.
Oh, that's
Okay,
even better.
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. Mindy, what are you reading?
Well, I am finally reading Born of Blood and Ash.
Yay.
I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm really enjoying it. Actually,
I'm loving that book.
I'm in the middle of stuff when I'm reading it, and so I don't stop and like text, but I keep
Right.
wanting to text you things. But
You
and I
should.
wish I would
Texted
do
me a
that.
couple
I know. I just
Text
Don't
me
text
'cause I'm
me
done.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Yeah, text
well, you're
me.
probably further than I am.
Maybe.
Yeah. But anyway, there's some really great stuff that happens in there, and I've highlighted a bunch of stuff.
You
So
know
I'll
what
go
awesome.
back.
I felt like when I opened it, the very first chapter, I was like, there's the magic of Jennifer Armentrout.
Yeah.
Yes.
She brought me right back into it. I can feel everything the characters are feeling because the last book was so information heavy. And Whitney, I know that you really, really liked it. But I told Whitney, I really feel like that book could have just been this book because she really kind of recaps everything that happened.
is true, yeah.
In a more interesting way because it's
Yeah.
all about post-traumatic stress syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, or disorder, sorry. But yeah, I'm loving it too.
Yeah,
It's magic.
I'm really,
on
really
page.
enjoying it. And then I'm also reading an arc because that's what I do right now. It's called Casket Case by Lauren Evans. And it's her debut novel, and it's about a woman who works in her family's casket business. Like her parents died in a tragic accident, and then she takes over their casket business in this small town. And then this man walks in, and they have this instant connection, and he is a, quote, logistics technician for death.
Oh.
So it's a very interesting...
Is it scary or funny? Or yes?
Neither.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it's not super funny and it's not scary at all. It's very, but it's emotional.
Yeah.
I would call it emotional. It's not what I was expecting.
Feel shit. I just want to laugh.
Unless it's sexy.
That's right.
It talks
Unless
about
it's in my pants.
Yeah.
It's a lot about grief and how you deal with that and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's got like secrets and and it's
Mysteries.
got some sexy stuff in it.
Spice.
Yes.
Tension.
So
Love.
And it's not always love, Whitney.
Well, that's true. Most of the books that I read, it is love. Well, I read a book called Wicked in the Pines by L.R. Friedman, and it was really fun. It's a duology that both of the books are already out. So the first one is Wicked in the Pines. The second one is Midnight with the Hexed, and they're both on KU, Kindle Unlimited. It's a 30, older than 30 female main character and also older male main characters. There's a missing sister. It's a paranormal why choose romance. The main character is a witch who has waning magic. This might be a trigger for some people. She's a postpartum female main character who has a young baby. So there's some like motherhood issues, a lot about her like trying to find who she is as a mom and like get comfortable with her body and stuff. It's not super heavy on the motherhood stuff, but it is a pretty major part of it. Getting her groove back, basically, like feeling sexy again.
Like Stella did.
Kind of, yeah. This female main character, her power is desire. So she can like
that works out in her
she
favor.
can amplify your desire. I don't think she can make you feel it if you're not already feeling
It'd
it, but
be
she
really
can like
hard not to have a reverse harem if that was
it's
your...
1,000%
Absolutely.
reverse harem. Yeah, it's 1,000% reverse harem. So I enjoyed the first book a lot more than the second book. It was still fine. It just wasn't as good. The pacing pacing was a little bit off for me. There was some stuff that I was like, wait, what? Like, hold on, what? I was a little confused, but I was invested in the characters at that point, and I wanted to read the next one, but I was a little like, oh, well, all right. You know,
cool.
It was fine, whatever. Yeah. But I did really enjoy it. It's a good spooky season read. That's what we're reading. What you guys watching?
While I was doing a deep dive for one of our other episodes, I stumbled upon this series on PBS, and it's called Mysteries of Mental Illness. And it's like a 4-part series. Now, you do have to watch it through Amazon Prime, and it's not like included in Amazon Prime. You have to get like the PBS documentaries add-on or whatever. But life hack, just use the 7-day trial and watch it. It's only 4 episodes, and it's very intriguing. There's a lot of really cool and interesting information.
I'm definitely on like the psychological true crime, like hyperfixation.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to dig deeper into my problem.
I know, right? That's like totally
I think it's
up my
more
alley.
like stories of
other crazy people.
Yeah.
They're worse off than me. let me find out more. I was watching, because I finished it, the same type of true crime kind of stuff. I watched American Murder, Lacey Peterson on Netflix. I really liked it. So
go. And I may have a question when you're done. Sorry, go ahead.
So there's another documentary that's on Hulu. I think it's Hulu, that is focusing on Scott Peterson, and he's trying to push the idea that he's actually innocent and has been like falsely convicted of his wife's and unborn child's murder. And so I wrote, frankly, I am not interested in that. So I wanted to show support to Lacey Peterson and her unborn child, Connor. And so I watched her documentary instead. And it is so well done. It's very good. They talk to her family. They also talk to a couple people in his family who, spoiler alert, they have never wavered on the idea that he is innocent. They talked to his sister.
They think he is innocent?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
His sister and his sister-in-law, who's married to one of his brothers, are the 2 family members of his that they talk to. And they like very much believe that he is innocent. And his sister-in-law, weird, got a law degree to like help him prove that he's innocent.
Seems a little
there's something weird
extreme.
going on there, in my opinion. It's very strange, but that's one of those cases where I'm like, oh, I remember that happening.
Lacey Peterson's sister got a law degree to help him?
No. Scott Peterson's brother's wife.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Lacey Peterson's sister didn't. It was just her mom, I think, was the only family member that talked to the documentary crew and some like family friends and like neighbors and stuff. But it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I know. I remember The Mistress. I remember Amber Fry. Like, I remember all that. But there were a lot of details that I was like, oh, yeah, no, he 1,000% did it. Like,
well,
why is this even a question?
That was
you know
my
what I mean?
question, which way the documentary leaned, because I'll have to look it up and I'll put it in the show notes. It was either Morbid or Crime Junkie did an episode. This was probably like 2 years ago when he started building a case that he was innocent.
No, I didn't do it.
And came up with a lot of things about reasonable doubt, right? With the case, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I don't know, shit. But like, it was really interesting for me to listen to a more reputable source lean towards him. But I still was like, who else would want to do that to her?
I would not say that the documentary necessarily leaned one way or the other, because they talked to a lot more people on Lacey's, like her friends, her family, that definitely think that Scott did it. 1,000%. Like, they have no doubt whatsoever and haven't for 20 years. But they talked to his family too. And the whole thing is not necessarily reasonable doubt, although I guess it kind of is. It's more like circumstantial evidence, because it took so long to find her body. And there's not physical evidence. There's not a lot of physical, physical evidence. So that's where the reasonable doubt comes in, I guess. But for me personally, the circumstantial evidence, I mean, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way. I'm so sorry. There's no way that he did not do it. Like, just the boat. If you know, you know. The boat in and of itself, I'm like, there's no way that he didn't do this.
Right. And I don't know enough about the case. That's why I'm staying very neutral. I'm not choosing Scott Peterson by any means. I just don't know very much about it.
I believe that the right person is in jail. And I think it's crazy that the Innocence Project is like trying to help
they
him.
are? I didn't know that. It was Crime Junkie then, because they work with the Innocence Project.
Yeah. I understand the reasonable doubt stuff, but there's a philosophical or like psychological theory or whatever that's like the simplest explanation is usually the right one.
It's Occam's razor.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, this makes the most sense. Like,
your first solution is usually the solution, or the most obvious one typically is. Right.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a husband who's having an affair, telling the lady he's having an affair with that his wife is dead before she's disappeared.
And we knew that he was kind of trying to like break it off with her and stuff, right?
Well, I mean, it seems that way because do you know one thing I learned? And then I'll stop talking about this. One thing I did not know is that Scott Peterson only knew Amber Fry for a month before Lacey Peterson disappeared.
Wow.
He met her. Yeah. He met her at like the end of November and Lacey disappeared on Christmas Eve. And I was like, what? A month. Blew up his entire life for a person he had met a month before.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? Allegedly blew up his life.
It must have been some very passionate lovemaking.
I'm not sure that there was any lovemaking, honestly,
Oh, really?
based on her interview, but maybe there was. I don't know. But it was very interesting if you like true crime.
Okay, well, I'm going to move over to paranormal.
Yeah.
Because that freaks me out less. I have been watching Mayfair Witches. They finally put it on Netflix. It's one of those things where I rarely have time to like sit down and watch TV, right? And the Mayfair Witches is actually based off of my favorite book of all time. It's The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. So I knew when I sat down to watch it, I wanted to like watch it, right?
Yeah.
And so I haven't subscribed to AMC because I'm like, I'm going to watch this so slowly, probably. But I ended up watching 3 episodes in one night, and I'm obsessed with it. So I thought I would try to convince you all and our readers to read The Witching Hour. Okay. So The Witching Hour is set around a woman named Rowan, who was almost my daughter's namesake.
Yeah.
I've always loved that name. Who, unbeknownst to her, is a witch from a dynasty clan set in New Orleans. She begins to uncover her own supernatural powers and is led to New Orleans to like look into her past. When she arrives, she finds that the witches in the house not only have been keeping her mother like medically hostage, but that a ghost has been spelled by the family and now has sights on her.
Ooh.
So there's this ghost who has been with the family for 4 centuries.
Oh, my.
And obviously is moving the puzzle pieces around for his benefit, and you don't really know what his end game is.
Right.
But it's a very crazy twist. It's the beginning of like a super wild trilogy. I would check it out. The only thing I will say is there's like a part in the middle of the book that goes into like the history of the witches that reminded me of the Bible when it was like, and then this guy was the son of this guy.
Yeah, so-and-so beget so-and-so.
So
yeah.
like you could probably skip that chapter. Like, right? It's not, it would make someone DNF, I think, almost, but I will say it's worth it.
Just skim through that one.
It's an amazing book. And I thought it was written in the 70s, actually written in 1990.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't realize. I thought it was older than that, too.
I thought it was older than Vampire Diaries. Or not Vampire Diaries, Vampire Chronicles. It is older.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's older than Vampire Diaries.
Chronicles is like the story of Lestat and Interview with the Vampire and everything, which AMC also is doing a series on called The Immortals, which also just hit Netflix. So I'll be watching that as well. But Alexandra Daddario is Rowan, and she's just like so fucking beautiful.
She is, yeah.
She can play like a tortured soul like I've never seen. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. So please go watch Mayfair Witches and go read The Witching Hour.
I'll have to add it to the list. Like
it's
every
like
single
900 pages.
Yeah, it's very thick.
This was previous to our normal being 700 to 900
Yeah.
pages. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big book. What are you guys listening to? Deb, are you listening? No, not Deb. But I will,
That's
since
okay.
I said Deb.
Because I already kind of said I'm still listening to Born of Blood and Ash. So, but I'm also listening to our book club book, which is Slewfoot by Brom. And it's about witchcraft in like the 17 or 1800s. I'm not real sure. But it's been very, very interesting so far.
Yeah.
It's in a little creepy.
You're in your witchy area.
Yeah.
I know, I am.
Spooky season reads.
I know. I'm like, okay, school started. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way.
Mindy, what are you listening to?
So we'll get into this a little bit later, but I went to a really cool concert this last week, and one of the opening acts was this great little band called the Linda Lindas.
Ooh.
They're like in high school, okay?
Oh.
But they're so talented. They're like this chick rock band, super fun. And the sucky thing is that we drove into Cincinnati for this concert, and I missed the 2 first opening acts because we were stuck in traffic for an hour. It was awful.
Was it trying to get to the amphitheater?
It was trying to get to parking.
Oh, yeah.
It was at the baseball field, actually. But there was a football game that same night. So, yeah, it was just not...
Sports
it was
ruining
planning.
everything.
Poor planning. But anyway, so I've been really like listening to their music and just really kind of... It's very reminiscent to me of my high school time and listening to like local bands, but they're very talented. And they actually have a song in the movie Totally Killer, which I think we've talked about before. Yeah.
Okay, fun. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
That's such a cool movie.
It really is.
Well, what I'm listening to is not as fun as that. It's more true crime stuff.
I know this book is like putting you back.
I know it really is. Hyperfixation.
Our Thursday book, Butcher and Blackbird.
I started listening to just some random My Favorite Murder podcast episodes. I used to listen to that a lot and stopped, honestly, because they started talking a lot more about like, what's going on with you this week? And I was like, that's not what I'm here for. And I've
Get to the murder.
Yeah. I was like, I got tired of like fast forwarding. So I just started listening to kind of random episodes, and I linked their in the show notes. There's a link to their overall podcast site, and then a link to one of my favorite episodes that they did, which was really, really early on. And I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, but it's a survival story about a woman named Mary Vincent. And I won't tell you what it's about, because I might actually do a deep dive on Mary Vincent if I can find a way to connect it to Butcher and Blackbird. But it's a survival story. She was a teenager, you know, all the trigger warnings. It's a tax assault and all the things, but it's a survivor story. And she actually went to court and like testified against her attacker, which not many victims do. Most of them don't get the chance, right? But it's one of my favorite survival stories. I love it so much. It makes me cry when I listen to that episode. So, and she actually went to one of My Favorite Murders live shows after they did an episode about her, and they like brought her up on stage, and she got like a really long standing ovation and stuff. It was really cool.
That's really awesome.
I highly recommend her survival story. It's pretty awesome. So that's what I'm listening to, just like murder and crime
and some more murder.
Yeah.
So are you loving murder too?
I guess so. I know, right? I had a hard time thinking like, what am I loving this week? I'm like, it was kind of cool last week. I wasn't sweating as soon as I walked out the door. And then this week it was like, hey, 100 degrees.
Yeah. The heat index was 106 today.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want to be able to go outside and walk my dog without like having to change my clothes when I get back.
Say,
you know what I mean?
I'm really sad it's the last weekend to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be hitting that up a lot.
Yeah. I'll miss the pool, but like, cool down a little bit.
I'm not gonna,
you know what
I'm
I
not
mean?
going to miss the swamp ass.
Right.
For real.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What are you guys loving this week?
I'm loving creativity because I was going through some pictures and things like that, and I realized that I don't really have like a lot of camping scrapbook supplies. And what I have is more like woods and not like campers or whatever. So
you do have an abundance of wood.
I do. I already have plenty of wood.
If this camper's rocking.
In the camper too, yeah.
If you hear that.
Not just veneer.
Well, we're getting ready to go camping this weekend too, so it's on my brain. And so I went down a rabbit hole and ordered a ton of like cute little camping scrapbook supplies. So now
fun.
I'm like excited to scrapbook our camping trips. So
well, that's fun. That'll be fun.
So this actually isn't about me. It's about my daughter. But my daughter is in a photojournalism program and had the opportunity to go and shoot Iron and Wine last weekend when they were here in concert.
Awesome.
So not only are her pictures amazing, but she posted them and tagged the band on Instagram.
Yeah.
And the next morning, the drummer actually reached out to her and asked if she could put the picture on her website because she said it made her look powerful.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And my daughter said... She said it's such a huge compliment because I made another woman feel powerful in a male-dominated field.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
So now my daughter's photography is on the Iron and Wine band
That's pretty
website.
awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would put that on my resume.
I would too.
Like forever.
Yeah. And she is such a good concert photographer.
Yeah.
Some of these shots she gets, I'm like, I don't even know how you did that without being like up on them.
Right.
She's not on the stage.
Right.
I don't know how she does it.
That's really cool.
quite
So
the talent.
awesome.
Well, that brings us to our nerdiest topic for this week: books and characters with small dick energy.
Wah, wah.
Well, we said big dick energy, so this should be like small dick energy. Small dick energy. So we've got a few different aspects of this topic that we're going to discuss. Do we want to just go through first and talk about the characters that we picked overall for small dick energy?
Sure. And say why.
Say why, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Well, I'll go first because I really only have 3 for just general SDE. They're kind of like classic Whitney books. So first up, we've got Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I picked Mr. Collins and Mr. Wickham, but they both have SDE for different reasons. So if you haven't read or seen the movie Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Collins is the pastor cousin, like distant cousin, who wants to marry Elizabeth, but he's like horrible and awkward and like small.
Also, don't marry your cousin.
And yeah, I know, right? Tell that to the royals.
Is he the potatoes guy in the movie?
He's the one who says the potatoes are exemplary vegetables, which makes me laugh a lot, which is just clear like
Can you
SDE.
imagine the dirty talk?
I mean, he does not talk you through it. I mean, no.
It would be like 30 seconds and he'd be like,
he would just go, done.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Did you get off? Okay.
No thanks.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Wickham is SDE in a different way. He takes his inheritance from the Darcy family and squanders it and then talks badly about Darcy to everyone unfairly and then ruins Elizabeth's younger sister's reputation to the point where she has to marry him or be ruined forever. Like he just sucks. He's
douchey.
SDE because he's a douche. Yeah. And he's a manipulator and he's just like, we just don't like him. We don't like Mr. Wickham. And so that's Pride and Prejudice. And then another classic Whitney book is the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I picked Tamlin and Grayson as SDE.
Yeah.
So Tamlin, we covered his small dick energy pretty extensively in our season 1 of Our Nerdiest Thing.
I mean, you just have to say fiddle.
I know. I mean, fiddle, right? There's nothing smaller dick-ish than playing the fiddle, right?
Yeah.
Like, no offense. No shade to all the fiddle players
if there
out
is
there.
like a metal fiddle player out there who's like buff with like tattoos, please.
I'm sure there is.
Please tag us. If someone makes the fiddle look hot, prove us
wrong. 100%. Yeah. And so we know that his small dick energy just gets worse in A Court of Mist and Fury, book 2, when he locks Feyre in the house. So, I mean, just go listen to season 1 of our podcast to hear all the different reasons why Tamlin has small dick energy. And then Grayson. Grayson is the human fiance of Elaine. And he is just like the biggest douchebag when he finds out that she was forced into the cauldron to be like forced to become a fae. And he's like, you're disgusting. I hate you. You have a fae mate. And like, well, I'll never be with you. And he like screams in her face and demands her ring back. And she's like desperately in love with him. It's just really sad. And he's very douchey and
she's
no
still
compassion.
spiraling from that.
I know. Like there's no compassion for her. Like she didn't decide to go become a fae. You know, like he's just so douchey. He's really mean to her over something that she cannot control, which
I feel like she
he
dodged
just
a
sucks.
bullet.
I do too. Agree. Which Nesta and Feyre had that conversation, right? Like, yeah, he just sucks.
Yeah, because if she ends up with Asriel or Lucian, they both have BDE.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I have to say, Elysiana, the one, she's a bookstagram artist.
Yeah.
I'm on her Patreon, and she did Lucian with like a cock ring with like a flower belt going from it, and you wouldn't think it was hot, and it was so hot. Shout out to them. It was a very great illustration. So she's about to do like a whole series of them.
That's hilarious. So then last but not least for me, from Blood and Ash series, again, classic Whitney book, I have Duke Tierman and Lord Brandol Mazine.
First of all, with a mustache.
First of all, his name is Brandol, which I feel like is small dick energy in and of itself. So they're just like the worst. The worst is what I wrote in my notes. They both use their positions of power to isolate Poppy even more than she's already isolated as the maiden. They physically abuse her. They emotionally abuse her. They tell her that she's ugly and unwanted. They force her to undress and force her to allow them to touch her unwantedly. There haven't been, honestly, a ton of details about exactly what goes down when she's in those meetings. We have seen a couple of scenes in the first book and we see a few things, but a lot of it is really like left up to our imagination.
But we know that they made her at least partially undressed.
Well, sure, we see them do that in one of the scenes, but it bums me out to think that like in the mind of Jennifer Armentrout, the author, like it could be way worse than what we actually have seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're very abusive. They're really sadistic, like horrible people. And, you know, nothing says small dick energy like forcing a woman to do something that she doesn't want to do.
Right.
So
100%.
Those were my SDE characters. What about you guys?
Well, I also had brought up Duke Tierman and Lord Mazine for the exact same reasons.
They suck.
They're just the worst. And especially Mazine, because he doesn't even like really take initiative. He sort of stays back in the he like as a watcher.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ew, like, ugh.
So we know that he attacked other people too.
Yeah.
Tierman, I'm sure he did, but we didn't see him do anything.
Yeah, I mean, his wife wasn't even sad when he died.
I know.
I know. It's horrible.
I had just a few other ones. One is sort of obscure, but we've all read this book. It was The Starter Villain by John Scalzi, and the main character, Charlie.
Oh my God, he has the smallest dick on the planet
ever.
That's so true.
Did not like take initiative on anything.
That is hilarious.
He inherited this great like villain business,
cats are
and he
smaller
didn't.
The dolphins are more BDE than he
absolutely,
is. That's such a great choice, Mindy. Bravo. Golf claps.
Nobody exudes more than that character.
That's hilarious.
I hated that book so much.
We all did.
I know none of us loved that book, and probably part of it is because there's no BDE in that book. They're pretty much all that way.
It's not bad writing. My husband loved it. It just wasn't the right book.
There was no D. There was just no D at all.
It was just meow.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, when we're talking about small penises, that it needs to be like teeny tiny weenie or something instead of small dick energy. Teeny tiny weenie energy.
The teeny weenie.
The other one I thought of was, and I can't even remember his name, The Ex-Husband and the Idea of You.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's all he needs to be known
I mean,
as.
he's not even
He
worthy
doesn't
of
deserve.
remembering
Yeah,
his
he doesn't
name
deserve a name
because really, like, why you're going to yell at
like
somebody for doing
Chad.
something that exactly that you did? Like, I just think, first of all, cheaters.
Once a
Small
cheater,
dick energy.
always a
Yeah,
cheater.
Just their
You go
cheaters
ahead
are
and die.
awful and just disgusting, anyways. And then he was gross. The other one, this is a big one. Dane from Fourth Wing. Like, break the rules every now and then, you wet blanket. Like, he is like the dullest person. Like, and you want to like him at first because he seems like he's hot. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like,
I think he's supposed to be pretty.
You think he has BDE, but then
he
like,
doesn't.
If it is a BD, then it's just like, you know.
Well, obviously nobody gets it up unless they're following the rules. So
big flaccid D.
Exactly. Yeah.
yes.
Wah, wah.
So yeah, no,
This has never happened.
no, he's just wrong. In all accounts. And then I know we share this one, Deb, so I'll let you talk a little bit more about him. But Midas in the Plated Prisoner series, he's got a
He's got a micro.
He's got a micro penis for sure.
Yeah, and the attitude to come with it too.
Yeah.
So I will say a lot of my characters with teeny weeny weenies and small dick energy and are people who compulsively try to prove that they have a big dick and like way overcompensate.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the Duke of Hastings from Bridgerton. I know this is a hot take and that some people are going to really be mad at me about this.
Not me.
But the whole, I'll never spread my seed no matter how much a woman begs, like demeanor, it just drives me insane. And also on the show, he kind of seems like a Minuteman. I gotta say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think he has BDE at all. Yeah.
I would agree.
Next, we've got Locke from the Folk of the Air series, which is the Cruel Prince. Yeah. Locke torments a character named Taryn and tells her that if she wants to prove her love to him, then she will stand by and say nothing while he dates her sister.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
So thankfully, Taryn later just stabs him to death because he's a turd. Yeah, he's a
As she
horrible
should.
person. Next, let's throw one in for the dark romance girlies and talk about Matt from The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. This motherfucker actually thinks he owns a woman in the book, so much so that he tries to kill her because if he can't have her, no one can.
Ew.
Yeah, those types of instances.
That's for sure.
Teeny weeny.
Yeah, teeny weeny. Listeners of the podcast have also heard me talk about the Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole, which is in the Gods and Monsters series. The big bad named Caden has such a small dick that he makes a vow with a woman that he wants to work for him like forever in order to save her sister from dying. So like I'll save your sister if you work for me forever. Then as soon as she doesn't do what he demands, he kills her sister. Like as soon as she's disobedient, right?
That's
Yeah,
That's
just-
small penis.
Yeah. And that's a major spoiler. Sorry, but we did warn you guys.
Well, you know.
Yeah. And last but not least, we can't leave out King Midas from
Yes.
Gold by Raven Kennedy.
Yeah.
This piece of shit convinces the female main character that he keeps her comfortably caged for her own safety, when in fact he's using her power and actually has no magic himself. He then screws his harem in front of her all the time and offers her body to another man as a bargaining chip.
Yep.
Do not rest in peace, King Midas. You suck.
You
Yeah.
suck.
He
Yeah.
was the worst. Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah, horrible character. So much so that I almost didn't read the second book because he bothered me so much. But you need to keep reading
Yes,
it. You've not read
it's
past
so
it.
It's
good.
really, really good.
That book comes out later this month.
I
The
know.
next one, Goldfinch.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what, the 24th, I think?
Yeah,
Something. I put
around
it in my
there.
calendar.
The 20-something.
Yeah.
It's in my calendar. So, are there any SDE characters that you find redeemable?
Well, if you've read The Bridge Kingdom, which I know both of you haven't, but there's the main character, Laura. She's trained from birth to seduce a king and essentially take over his land. She even kills over a dozen of her sisters to win the coveted spot and does indeed win the heart of the king. So, I mean, she's like exuding some SBD, right? Or wait.
BDE?
Silent
No,
but deadly.
Small dick energy.
SDE.
SDE, not silent but deadly.
SBD.
I mean, maybe that's how she killed her sister.
I was going to say, it could be both.
Okay, so unfortunately, she also falls in love and ends up having to redeem herself to earn back the trust of an entire kingdom. I find her really lovable because she doesn't do that over the course of like one action or one paragraph. She stays determined. They don't get back together for 3 books, which I really, really like. Like
Yeah.
she puts the time in, puts in the effort. She does a lot of things to like save the people and redeem herself to him.
Yeah.
And he says all the time, like, I love you so much, but I can't even like look at you. And she's just like, I get it.
I get it.
Yeah, so she really redeems herself. That is an amazing, amazing series.
Yeah.
Everybody, you guys need to read it.
Mindy, do you have any characters?
I think it's probably possible to redeem an SDE character, but I couldn't think of one. And I feel like it's just rare because this type of character is usually in the story as a foil to the main male character,
Not meant to be redeemed.
right?
Yeah.
And or his purpose is to either make the main male character look better, or the main male character is already great, but this guy makes him look even better, or to some way drive the female main character towards the main male character.
Yeah.
So I think like you don't really want them to be redeemable.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that most of the
Yeah.
time.
But I like that plot that you were talking about though.
Read it.
Yeah. I like the idea of being redeemed, but it taking
taking
Right.
time.
They do
Yes.
not. I mean, it's so much where you're like, when are they going to
it can't be easy. It can't
Yeah.
be easy. It
Right.
has to be something that you work
Yeah.
towards.
Not easily forgiven,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, I wrote down Tamlin.
Boo.
Not because
fuck?
I actually think he has been redeemed, but I think that, and again, I wrote in my notes, pointing you back to season 1 of this podcast, I don't necessarily want to see Tamlin redeemed. I don't think that he has been redeemed. However, I do think that his character is kind of starting on the path to see the mistakes that he's made. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily think that he is gonna be redeemed, but I think that I would like to see him at least reflect on his life and all of the choices that led him to his small dick energy.
I will
You know what I
say
mean?
Yeah.
that if anyone can make him redeemable, it is SJM.
Right.
She did that
Right.
in Throne of Glass series. Really,
That's
like she
true.
redeemed Kale.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And you end up liking Lorcan at the end, kind of, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think that she could do it. I personally feel like his grievances are so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be a very believable read for me. It would take like 5 more books for
Well,
me personally.
And I think that his redemption, quote, air quotes there, redemption with Feyre, like whatever's going to be with him and Feyre, like that's already happened. I think that happened at the end of book 3 when he said, like, here's this kernel of magic. Like, I'm going to help you. I'll help your sand. Like, I just want you to be happy. That part is done. Yeah. And that's what I think. Like, I don't think that there's a path for redemption, because it would have to be redemption for Feyre. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
so he just has to become a better person and show it with someone else.
Exactly. Like, and that's what I mean. Like, with the reflection, reflect on your life and look at your life, look at your choices and how you got to this small dick energy and those choices
Stop
that you made.
Getting so mad you claw yourself.
Right. Yeah. Like, reflect on yourself and grow and learn from it and actually change. That's
for our newer
what I would
listeners,
like to see.
There is a whole episode called "We Are Not Tamlin Apologists."
Right. Yeah. And we see, you know, in the Frost and Starlight novella, you know, he's very deeply depressed. He is so like rage filled, but I think it's rage at himself for the choices that he's made and how he is the reason that his life looks the way that it does at that point. And I feel like she's setting the stage for that reflection and like grow as a character.
Where
so
are
we'll
the
see.
Prithian therapists?
Dude, he needs one. He needs one.
We are so big on
bad.
therapists on this podcast and mental health. Take some Prozac or whatever, you know,
magical elixir.
Right. That will work
Something.
for you. Something that's covered by your insurance, hopefully.
Right. Maybe it's fairy wine.
I was going to say maybe it's fairy
And then, you know, play your fiddle until you feel better and talk to someone.
Yeah.
Christ.
For real. Yeah. Is there any small dick energy character that you guys find lovable?
Okay, I'm talking about a bunch of books you guys haven't read, which really sucks because I really want you guys to read these books. But when I started reading Divine Rivals, the main male character, Roman Kit, had some crazy small dick energy. He was a spoiled Nepo baby who seemed to constantly want to belittle all the women that he worked with. But as the story continues, he goes on to support the main character as she moves to the front lines of this war as a correspondent, and he helps her pave the way to defeat an unruly god. He never tries to one-up her or step over her as they defeat the big bad. He instead uses his strengths to partner with her strengths, which really makes you eventually fall in love with him.
Yeah.
So he definitely, like, he's so lovable at a certain point in that book where you're like, oh, and like, it's not that he's even stepping back for her.
Right.
He's understanding what his strengths are and what her strengths are. And then it eventually turns into BDE because of that.
Right.
Yeah. Very lovable guy.
Nice.
Read those books, guys.
I have it.
Add it to the list, right?
Oh, I gave you a copy, didn't I?
No, I got it from Book of the Month.
Oh, I do think you all should listen to those.
Okay.
As opposed to reading the physical book.
I think they might read a little slow, but I think listening to them really helped.
We'll see.
Mindy and I are like, I don't know about that. Mindy, do you have any lovable SD characters?
I struggled with this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just couldn't. I guess I just block out all the small dick guys because I'm like,
go big or get out.
Yeah. You're not doing it for me, so I'm just going to forget
if
you.
There's no potential for Jacob's Ladder. I'm out.
But I did think of maybe Marshall from It Ends With Us. Because
is that her best friend's boyfriend or husband?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think he has a small dick. I mean, he could. I don't know. But his
could be average.
But his energy is definitely like overcompensating by being funny and over the top.
Yeah.
And so I could see that. But I love him. I think he's hilarious and he's fun. So
he is a lovable character. Yeah. I would agree with you there.
He does have some I keep wanting to say SBE.
SDE.
I mean, right?
Energy.
He does.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I know you can't feel it, baby, but give me just a minute.
Was it that fake Britney Spears quote we were talking about at our pool day? Like, you can put it in now. It's already in. My world shattered. That's the best part. I wouldn't say that I find this character lovable, but I do enjoy this character because I think he's funny. And it's Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice. Like the exemplary vet. Like he is so awkward and just gross. And
so awful that you feel bad enough for him that you think he's funny.
Right. Yeah. But he's like not a bad person. Yeah. He's just not
a dumbass.
Yes. Like he's just socially awkward and weird and like cannot read the room and is kind of full of himself, but not as bad as like Mr. Wickham. Right. And I do find him really funny. The exemplary vegetable is just
sometimes awkward potatoes. Is endearing.
Yeah, I find him funny. I enjoy him.
Doesn't
because
mean you
of
want
that.
to get in bed with him. But.
Right, exactly, 100%. Yeah. So, who would you guys nominate for the worst small dick energy character of all time?
I'm going to go back to Locke from Folk of the Air.
Yeah, he
sleeps with he sleeps with twin sisters and tricks them both. He fucks around on the night before his wedding.
Yeah.
And he's an abusive piece of crap.
Yeah.
He is. He's horrible.
And I do think we should take our 3 nominees and put them on when this episode comes out, I want to put them up and have our listeners and our Instagrammers vote.
I think it's
just 2 because Mindy and I have the same one.
Who's yours?
Here, Mindy, you go ahead.
So I'm going to go with Duke Tierman. He's just vile and wicked and totally deserved the ending that he got from Castile. He deserved to be splayed and
deserved way worse.
He actually did.
Yeah.
But didn't Castile get interrupted? Like he wanted to do more, but he had to
be quick or something.
Yeah. So I feel like I read that.
Well, maybe we can put Mazine as number 3.
Well,
That's
and I was
true,
going to
'cause
say
they're
I would put Mazine in there with him.
For sure. Yeah.
I think
they're
Mazine
mine
might be
too.
worse than Locke when it comes down. Well, I don't know.
Locke?
I don't know.
They're bad in different ways.
At least Mazine is just evil. Locke hides
pretends.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
Locke
So does Tierman.
manipulates, and his is more
Long-term con.
yes.
It's kind of what I talked about in my deep dive for our last read-along episode. You have disorganized and organized, and they're scary in different
Yeah.
ways. That's how I feel about Locke
Yeah.
and Mazine and Tierman.
Yeah.
They're both awful,
Yeah.
but in different ways. You know what I mean?
I think we need to put it to vote. Why
Yeah,
did you
I
say
agree
Duke
too.
Tierman, though? What?
Kind of the same. The manipulating and abusing your power and taking advantage of somebody who is so vulnerable like that, I just think is the worst human behavior.
Well,
you
there's
know?
nobody that he is nice to.
Yeah.
He has no capability for loving or caring about anybody but himself.
Yeah, and the sadistic tendencies where he and Mazine both they clearly get off on hurting Poppy, physically hurting her, and he clearly takes pleasure in trying to embarrass her and telling her that she's so ugly and trying to embarrass her in front of
other people. Yeah,
it's just that emotional torture day in and day out. It just is the worst kind of person to me. Although I will be excited when you guys, in addition to that, I will be excited when you guys finish Born of Ash and Blood. Born of Blood and Ash? I can't remember which.
I think it's
Born of Blood and Ash.
B-O-B-A-A.
Boba. When you guys finish Boba. Because I have a theory about him.
Okay.
Once you guys, he's not in that book at all, but I have a theory related to him once you finish
About
the book.
Duke Tierman or Mazine? Okay.
Duke
All right.
Tierman.
Cool.
So, well, that's it for our nerdiest topic. So let's go into our nerdiest thing of the week. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I kind of alluded to this, but I was lucky enough to get to see Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins, and I was supposed to see.
Nice.
I know I was supposed to see Rancid and the Linda Lindas too, but I did get to hear Rancid from we were stuck in traffic and I could hear
Roll the windows down.
Right there. Yes, it was hilarious. But I got to tell you, so I went with a couple of my friends from college. These were my best friends in college.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that we listened to. And it was really funny because my friend Scott, shout out to Scott. He brought up, he was like, the thing I remember most about Green Day is that they call me Melinda because that's what I went by in college. She said this was that Melinda knew about Green Day before anybody else did, because they actually they were supposed to play in Louisville, and so I kind of got to hang out with them a little bit with some of the bands but then they ended up not playing. It was kind of a jerky thing, but whatever. They were amazing though. Their energy was so good. I can't believe that they can still jump around and move on stage exactly like they were. They look like kids up there. And the crowd was super nice. You would think sometimes at sort of a high energy show that people would get mean.
Rowdy.
Yeah. And it was super chill and everybody was just enjoying it. It was super fun. And you can tell that they were really doing it for the fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, we nerded out. I made a whole playlist and we listened to them all on the way up, and yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
It was fun.
I love that. Deb, what's your nerdiest thing?
So some of our close Instagram followers know this, but I was watching an Instagram live with Jennifer Armentrout last week, and because I am a nerd, I really wanted to see what was on her bookshelves in the background. So I scrolled in or whatever, zoomed in. And I've mentioned before on the podcast that someone with the JLA moniker had ordered something from my shop before, but I didn't really know if it was her. But I wrote her a letter just in case. So I'm stalking her bookshelves during this Instagram Live, and I see the product that I'd sent her like front and center on her bookshelf.
So awesome.
Yeah,
I definitely
really cool.
cried, and I think I peed a little.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
That's the proper response.
I was really, really excited about it. And then I went to the JLA page and like posted the picture and like circled it and everything. And a bunch of people were like, what is it? What is it? And I didn't want her to feel like I was trying to like get orders. So I actually took my post down because it's I didn't feel very respectful about it.
Yeah.
It was more of like, I wanted it to be JLA cares for her fans and like loves fan art and all of that, but it turned into, well, we want one, and I was like, I got to take this down.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
it's really cool though, because we all know how much thought we put into our bookshelves and what goes on it, number one, and the order that we put things in and what's displayed and what's not. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a huge honor, I think.
I'm still peeing myself about it.
As you should.
My
Again,
seat's wet.
That's it's also from all the small dick energy talk.
That's right.
Well, my nerdiest thing of the week. Well, number one, I don't have a link for it because I don't know where she got it. But the shirt that I'm wearing today, friends, is one that my sister got for me and sent. It's got a rabid possum on it. And it says, first of all, I'm a delight, which I really enjoy. But that's nerdy. But the biggest thing is I was watching an episode of Buffy. I don't know which one, what number episode.
When you said, what are you watching? Are you still watching Buffy?
I am still watching Buffy,
okay.
yeah. I took a little bit of a break because I watched the Lacey Peterson thing instead. But the episode, I guess I'm still in season 4. The episode where Faith wakes up from her coma. Mm-hmm. There is a nurse who's like, I came in for my shift, and she, she's the one who basically reports that Faith is woken up and missing. And I recognize this actress. I have no idea who this woman, what her name is, but I recognize her from an episode of Parks and Rec, because she does one of
like 20 years later.
Yeah. She does one of my favorite jokes in the whole series where Ron Swanson is trying to ignore the people. They're coming and complaining about stuff to him, and he's just trying to ignore her. And he's in this swivel chair and on this like round desk, and he keeps turning in his chair, and she's trying to talk to him, and then she'll go, sir, can you hear me, sir? And she just like runs around the circle desk, and he keeps like turning in his chair to ignore her, and it is so freaking funny. And it's that woman.
Oh, that's
and funny. I was like, that's the sir lady.
See, she's still getting work.
I know, good for her, right? Because like you say, that was a long time later. It wasn't at the same time at all, but I was just like, hey, it's that sir lady.
That's hilarious.
But I really enjoyed that a lot. So that's it, guys. Listen in to our Thursday read along episodes for Butcher and Blackbird.
There's big dick energy in those books.
Oh yeah, lots.
And if you feel like you're feeling a little wah-wah from the small dick energy, just go back and listen to our big dick energy episode.
Yeah, we got one of those too.
4.
Yeah, for every small dick, there's a big one too.
We don't know if it's like 50-50, but
a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah. Well, bye.
Bye. Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.